So,
Mr. Chair,
Alastair Scott.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair. Do I have the call?
I call
Thank you,
Alastair.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'm also pleased to stand. I still have a couple of questions. Believe it or not, I'm pleased to be standing here this afternoon, and I've a couple of questions for the minister, which I don't think he's quite asked. He may say that it's the responsibility of the RBNZ to do this and that, but my question is: given the limited number of tools available to the RBNZ, and we saw some, other than changing interest rates, we know that the RBNZ have used LVRs, for example, to create some price stability, if you like. There was also discussion around the RBNZ using an income test to restrict people from taking up bank loans, and again that was aimed at price stability, not targeting inflation, but really around the mandate of price stability. And that seemed to work, and that has worked, and the LVRs have been reduced or eliminated. So those extra tools, or that one particular extra tool, was useful, and as I said, we were discussing the use of another tool for the purpose of price stability, which we didn't get round to using, and I haven't heard the minister raise that possibility in recent times. So I assume he would agree with me that that particular tool wasn't especially useful. But nevertheless, we shouldn't assume. My question is, given the limited number of tools that the RBNZ has, how does the RBNZ, what levers does the RBNZ use to focus on full employment, or full high sustainable employment, whatever that means? And I accept that these things can change depending on the parameters that the economy finds itself in. And the minister mentioned GFC, for example. So, accepting that the employment level may rise and fall, I'm interested in knowing what tools, or even additional tools, the minister expects the RBNZ to use to focus on that one parameter of full employment. Given that we've talked about two other tools that were available, or one's available, one was possibly available to the RBNZ for the purpose of price stability, and all those things are separate from the ability of the RBNZ to influence the overnight cash rate, which of course affects a whole lot of other things. A whole lot of other things flow from the OCR being set, whether it's the forward curve, the futures curve, the futures interest rate curve, or foreign exchange levels expected in the economy. So, brief question: how is and what tools does the RBNZ have to use to focus on the one particular parameter that he now says has always been considered, but has to be legislated, because that is some definition of the real economy? I would challenge that assumption. The real economy does not necessarily must be and prioritise around employment. There's a whole GDP per capita we've discussed a lot before, GDP, nominal GDP in itself. Those things are the real economy as well as full employment. So how is the RBNZ supposed to manage this parameter, and what levers does the RBNZ have to focus on the full employment target?
Mr. Chair.
The Honourable Grant Robertson.
Mr. Chair, I'll put the member who's just resumed